Wow, it looks lush, doesn't it? Every morning, I love the way this north garden greets me. But it's got to go. I mean, no. You know, I have been given a mandate that, you know what, again, it's a contractor issue, a project issue. There's some siding here on the north side of our house that needs to be replaced because it's old and because it's been too moist, and that's just sort of what happens on the north side of a house, I guess. But anyway, they're going to need a clear path through here, siding people, and there is a walking path, now that you can really see it. So I have to make this a little more accessible. And I would, there goes the air conditioner, I hope you can still hear me. I would rather be the one to trim these than my husband, who is not a gardener, or contractors who are just quick access, not really thinking about how plants might be damaged. So let's get at it, shall we? First order of the day is this beauty right here. She's big, she's bold, she's got flopsies, and it's Annabelle hydrangea. So this is a very old variety that, you know, better genetics these days, will have these nice big blooms but on sturdier stems. So this is a transplanted hydrangea from my back garden that had a similar issue and could not tolerate all of the sun that was put on her. So looks great, but now that she's bloomed, what I'm going to do is trim a path here, save some of these blooms, dry them, and you know, I use these in arrangements even through the winter. So let me trim these, save some, and make a path. And I have to be wary also, there are some monarchs and some pollinators here. This side is going to be fine. Anyway, let's just get to it, shall we? I'll start with this Annabelle hydrangea. Now, I'm not going to take it out completely, but I do have to, again, make access easier for the folks who are going to replace the siding. So that means going down a little low here for some of this. And she'll be just fine. In fact, she might even put on some new foliage. Sometimes they'll rebloom, but for the most part, yeah, they'll be fine. They bloom on new wood. I do like the way they look, that soft romance, you know. But they're not very sturdy. They flop because of the weight of these heads. Can you even see me? Hello. All right. I'll start with taking these, and then I'll bring you in a little bit closer. See, these are beautiful. Aren't they beautiful? So what I do is I tie them together and hang them upside down in my garage, removing these leaves. And yeah, then I can use some of these flower heads and arrangements in the fall because they dry up super pretty. Some I can probably even put into a vase now and save them that way for some nice arrangements. Okay. And then there's some I'm going to have to trim away from the wall itself because of how they have flopped. Start with this bunch first. The hard part is I have some reseeded Verbena bonariensis here and milkweed. And I have to check and make sure there aren't any monarch caterpillars on this because they do like to come here, and I've seen monarchs stopping by here to feed. So I know they like this area. Okay. So yeah, and they've got plenty for pollination here. They've got a Joe Pye weed up on the hill, and this Blue Fortune Agastaki, which is robust here. And again, that side of the wall is no problem. But this side we have to trim down for access. At least trim down a path. That's my goal. I'm not gonna go too crazy here and take it all out. That's just ridiculous. That's overkill. And this is kind of also where the kittens were playing, and I can understand why they like it, because it's a lot of hiding places in here with the hostas and the tall hydrangea. I mean, you really can't see what's in here. If they are, I'll be sure to let you know. Woo, that would be fun. Okay, what do we got here? These two. So pretty. Like I said, it just seems like, well, it is a crime to cut these down. I'm just gonna say it. It just is. It's sad. It just is. It's very wet. You see the sprinkles? Okay. All right. Next batch. I'm putting those cut stems just around the corner where they will be, where they're in the shade, so that they'll last a little bit longer. All right, I might leave you. Let's see what else we've got back in here. Now, that's fine, that mountain laurel. Let me bring you in here. Now, some of these I'm gonna just stake up, like the milkweed that's along the path here. And this is just weed down here. This is a weed. We call it sticky weed. I'm sure there's a better name for it, but see, this is just crap. You don't need that. This is lily of the valley, which I like, but honestly, it's gonna be okay if I pull these, because you know what? There's plenty to go around. This girl might have to move in here for the time being. Twofold issue. Issue number 2 is they have to be able to access the back gate to repair the siding over here. So this beautiful blue hosta, I'm gonna have to move because it's impeding the path. Now I don't have to cut a path right down the middle. That's kind of obnoxious anyway. But if I can move this blue hosta, I do have space for him in the back garden. I think he'll hardly miss a beat, so let's try it. So this was a little bit more difficult to dig out than I anticipated because of the angle here, and I knew I needed to get down low. I also note that there weren't some cords here because, again, this has been marked several times over the years, and I'm the only one who digs here. But yeah, so had to navigate my little spade in here and push. I'm glad I had boots on. So Halcyon hosta, I planted this in 2022. I purchased it online from Brex. And it is not a fast growing hosta, but the blue foliage, the more seersucker texture of it, everything about it makes it a little more slug resistant. Plus it's taller in the profile. So I did want to put it in a nice prominent place when I'm done. And this was a heavy beast, let me tell you, when I finally got it out of the garden. So I'm happy to save this. And this is where I've put it. So now I get to see this every morning looking out my window. And this thing really won't miss a beat. I just need to make sure that I keep it watered well, at least for the first several months, because we're kind of in a heat and a dry spell right now. But I put a lot of mulch near there. So far, so good. In heat like this, morning shade is your friend, especially if you have some more things to put in the ground, some perennials that are going to take your bloom and your color all the way to frost. Because I tell you what, this heat wave, I just saw the forecast and there is no letting up. Maybe that's happening in your corner of the world as well. Here in Iowa Zone 5B, we have a string of pearls, or actually not pearls, a string of 90-degree days, all bundled together with no rain in sight. So I'm hand watering some of the new plants up here in my west garden, and of course the new tree, because it's still new enough that we've got to do that. I don't have drip irrigation up in there, so that's why, new plants need a little head start. Meanwhile, I've got some other plants to fill in some gaps, and it's a good time to get some because of the bargains you can actually get. So remember the lavender from a while back? Oh yeah, I still need to plant this, and I think I have a spot in mind. So lavender, even the kind that's supposed to be perennial in my Zone 5B garden, sensational lavender, which is ranked better than a lot of them, I still haven't had good luck getting them back after the winter. So if you grow lavender in Iowa and it comes back for you reliably, let me know how you do it, because I pick sites that are protected from the snow, and it's not necessarily just about the temperature, so it's that combination of cold and wet. Other plants are far more resilient, like dianthus. Now I've always loved dianthus. It's rabbit resistant and apparently deer resistant as well, probably because it's fragrant. So this variety is Paint the Town Fancy Dianthus. I just love the color. And it's mostly mounding, but it might spread a little bit, but it does need full sun. Some moisture to get it started, but other than that, it's kind of indifferent. In fact, you see it growing in rock gardens and over ledges and that type of thing. So once it gets started, it's pretty good. I have a couple good dry shade plants. Barrenwort, red barrenwort. See the picture? Doesn't that look cool? Okay. So again, a little bit different textured leaves. So I thought of this in a couple of spots in my hosta garden. And a bishop's cap, which in bloom, they show you the blooms, can look really cool. So this is another dry shade plant. It doesn't like to sit in wet, which is probably why it's good for dry shade. And again, I have a couple spots in mind for my hosta garden, either here or also on the north side of the fence, the north hosta garden. But that's just for another day. Monarda, which does need some moisture, a moist, sunny spot. I have a Monarda planted on the upper north garden, but because it's sloping, I have to keep watering it because it dries out too fast. So I'm going to try putting this one down below. And again, this is, I can't say it's necessarily good, but it's got some intense fragrance. And I love the color, and this echoes the colors that I have in that lower north hosta garden. Leading Lady Raspberry is what this one's called. Don't you love that name? So I'm going to try that down below. And same thing that needs some moisture, but sun, is Veronica. So very Van Gogh. Bees, pollinators love this. Same thing as Monarda. Even though that Monarda is mostly gone over by now, I'll trim it down when I put it in, and we'll see how it goes. This one you keep deadheading, and there's some new blooms in there ready to come, ready to bloom, but it could use some deadheading. So I'll put this also probably in that lower north garden, although I haven't necessarily made up my mind. What I do know is my rose garden is dry, and it was designed to be that way. It is under an overhang and a slight slope. So it was designed by the builders to drain water away from the foundation of the garage. It's an attached garage, and that used to be nothing but red rock. And I've transformed it over the years from purely a rose garden to then a mixed bed with lots of roses. And roses are my eternal heartbreak. Love them, but they don't always work out the way you think. So I'm looking at improved varieties. I am going to rethink that big red driveway container because I would actually like to put 2 roses in there, and with that, really shouldn't have any other perennials in there. So those perennials, I'm going to move into, because they need full sun, I'm going to move to the front new tree bed where those nice warm colors would really complement, and they're going to bloom until frost. Those will complement the Tupelo tree, and especially in the fall when those leaves turn bright red, I think that's going to be gorgeous. So that's the plan. That's where I'm going to put those. Meanwhile, lavender is going to go in the rose garden. I'll try it again. And let's get going. Oh, and I have an update on the kittens. So Mama was apparently spooked by the neighbor's dog just north of us. Because remember, they were in that hosta garden, frolicking and playing. It was a magical thing every morning. Now she's moved them somewhere. I'm still looking. Meanwhile, she shows up to get fed regularly. So I know she's still in the area. Work in progress. You know, make a plan, make God laugh. Isn't that what they say? And Mother Nature has her own design there. So I would like to see them and help them and support them however I can. But that's the update on the kittens so far. But I will keep you updated. Ferals are unpredictable. So the best you can do to support them is feed them, neuter them, vaccinate them. And they'll work for you in your garden to keep the eastern chipmunks down, mice, keep them down. In fact, when I've had a feral encamped in our feral cat bed over the winter, I never had mice in my house in the winter because I think they were getting them before they were anywhere close to my house. Anyway, let's get on to gardening, shall we? We've got a lot of work to do. Time is wasting and the sun is going to hit this garden here in the back real soon, and that is really going to spike the temperature. So let's go. To begin with, I started with the Veronica. I decided in the end to put it here against the west fence of the wisteria, in front of the wisteria. On the other side is another Veronica, I believe the same variety that I planted last year. So it will take some extra water. Oh, and here comes Buddy to help me, my little shadow. Anyway, it does take some effort though here to get through some of these fine webbed roots. Now again, this is more from the 70-year-old maple that is behind me here up to the north. So it took a little bit of digging. But I also know that the sprinkler, the lawn sprinkler, hits this area. So that will also help keep it moist. So speeding things up here because this was a bit of a task. You know, just dig, 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 cut, 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 dig, 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 cut, cut, cut. You know the drill. Anyway, at the end, I like the way this looks, and it will keep some nice blooms going for pollinators. And when I get done, I was pretty happy, and I think so was Buddy. So, off to the next adventure. Now, I want to add some color besides just the green here in the hosta bed. And if I make it towards the front, this front area does get some good sun, a good 6 hours of sun, morning sun anyway. And it is moist in here. That's why the hostas love it. I did a little test there, see if I could ball up the soil, and it does ball up. It is clay after all. But I had to loosen up some of the roots, more fibers here for this particular dianthus. And I thought, okay, this will be a nice, it'll spread just a little bit, but mostly it's pretty polite and it'll stay in place. I did add a little bit of biotone here at the start and then fill it in, put the mulch back in place, all done. And the Monarda I added just a little bit farther down the road here in the hosta bed as well. So again, I'm adding this nice bright pink into the front areas and a couple other areas in the hosta bed. So the idea is, and again, Monarda doesn't need as much water, but it does need some sun, but it'll be kind of nice to nestle in here and also thwart some rabbits because it does have a pretty intense smell. So I'm washing some of the dirt off and some of the things off of the surrounding hostas. So they will like the moisture. That's just fine. And it has been such a beast of a heat wave here that only because they're right there at this particular line in the shade of that crab apple, that's why they do pretty well.
But again, watering the dianthus, cleaning up the soil there. Now the other variety, the pink chenille monarda, I decided to plant a little bit farther down here. This is more the south garden, and this is nestled right in front of the huge pot where I have the lilac tree. There's some good sun through here, but again, you could count the line where it ends, where the sun ends. Meanwhile, in shade, to mottled shade, also still in the shade of this maple tree, I decided to put in some of this epimedium. Now, I haven't grown this before, but it will get some nice tall lilac colored flowers right here at the edge of the pond, the stream. So I thought that would be kind of nice. And I would put that here alongside the stream. And so in the spring, when daffodils are blooming, that tall purple spikes will be blooming. I thought that would be kind of nice. So overall, I think the whole look is going to be good. I did water it in, and I like the way that's going to look. Now, Bishop's Cap, same thing. Lila Fee or Lila Fee. I put 2 of these right next to them, the epimediums. They're known for being dry shade tolerant once they get started. So again, some more of that nice color I'd put in. And then this job. Ugh. I have not been looking forward to this. Taking out this little stand of Virginia creeper, taking it off of the fence anyway. Now, it has good traits and bad traits. The bad traits, it's really aggressive, and it grows itself into the wood. So I wouldn't grow this next to a house because I think it does damage the wood, and it gets kind of heavy. But it has some beneficial attributes for wildlife. It has some little berries that they like over the winter. It does have some wildlife benefit, the berries over the winter, and pretty fall foliage. So I think in the end, once I get this off, this was a big job, might as well speed it up. I will go ahead and just, keep it in check. I mean, it comes from the neighbor's side, so it's not up to me to put any sort of herbicide on it, and I don't use that stuff anyway. So just, I'm going to try to keep it well away from any of my trees or my clematis that is growing a little bit farther south on this fence, and then just enjoy the fall foliage when and if it comes. I'm sure by no means I killed this thing. Even though it's a beast and I took it off the fence and peeled it off the fence, there's still a lot of it on the other side, on my neighbor's side, and this is where this comes from. So it took about a good 5 years to get this big clump here. And like I said, it has good attributes and bad attributes. But if I kind of keep this in check, kind of like my sweet autumn clematis, then I think everybody can be happy. Well, that's the goal anyway. So once I got that done, which I was happy to finally get that was a bit of a relief. And in hindsight, I should have worn sleeves because, again, when you cut the stems on this, the sap can be an irritant. I didn't have that problem, but I think it's just because I was lucky more than anything else. So, off to the next vine. Again, another Iowa native, riverbank grape. Apparently there's 60 different types of caterpillars that use this as a host plant. I don't know how many of all of those are in Iowa, but that's kind of what it's known for. This used to grow all over the prairies along the river banks, and it does get kind of heavy, and for that reason, you got to keep it in check because it can be a beast. And by the way, something else I forgot in addition to sleeves. Yeah, mosquito repellent. Hello. And that's they're living in the shade because when it's as hot and as dry as it is right now, they still find a way because after all, I'm by a water source here. So even though the water's moving, there are mosquitoes. So I trimmed this off. This doesn't embed it. It does not embed itself into the fence. But still, the weight of this thing, as aggressive as it grows, can take down a fence and smother small trees if you just let it grow and grow unchecked. This also has some pretty fall foliage. Apparently it has tiny berries, although I've never seen them. This grapevine just appeared and manifested here probably 2 years ago. It's not nearly as vigorous as Virginia creeper, and again, it just winds itself around a fence. It doesn't embed itself like Virginia creeper. But even as I'm pulling this over the fence, I'm realizing, oh, this does have some weight to it. So I can see how it can damage some structures. So again, I'm just going to watch it, see what happens, and I'm sure it'll come back because, again, this comes from the neighbor's side of the fence. So it's that area on the other side of the fence is a woodland. It was a cattle farm, yeah, for 100 years, long before this development got here. So yeah, that's kind of where it comes from. Makes sense. But I was relieved to get this job done. I'm not lying.
Well, I don't mind saying, I am glad this week is over. It has been a busy week, not to mention, wow, the heat wave. So, but you know what? We got her done. And I'm looking forward to seeing how these things grow, including the lavender. If you have some tips for me, let me know how you get it through an Iowa winter, because I haven't had much luck. So, but you know what? I did get some new ideas. I went to the Better Homes and Gardens Meredith Test Garden, which is in downtown Des Moines. Beautiful little spot, by the way. Went there with some girlfriends and got some great ideas. So, here's to your ideas. I hope you subscribe and like the video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.